Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Alicia, and in this video I am going to talk to you about how to color your epoxy. So as most of you know, epoxy is clear and sometimes you want it to have color. So what do you use to color it? Well, you can use mica powder, you can use acrylic paint, and you can use alcohol inks. So let's go ahead and get started. So you want to color your resin, but what do you use to color your resin? Well, there's a couple different things you can use. The three things that I use are either alcohol ink, which I purchased at Amazon in this big cool kit that has like 20 something colors. Also mica powders, which I also bought as a kit off of Amazon. It came 27 in this. Lots of gorgeous mica powders in here, very reasonably priced. And then acrylic paint. So those are three things I usually use. Now, each thing that you use is going to have a different effect. So this is going to have more of a clear effect when you put it into your epoxy. So it's going to look kind of like Jello. This, when you put it in and mix it, it's going to be more of a solid color, but it's going to be a pearlescent. And then your flat acrylic paint is going to be a solid color. So they're going to have different effects on your cup when you apply them. And I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to show you how they mix in epoxy, and I'm going to show you what they look like on a cup. Okay, so I am back with my epoxy. It's all mixed up. I prepped my cup so I can show you. If I'm a little muffled, I'm sorry. I have my mask on. Make sure when you're dealing with epoxy that you wear your protective gear according to the manufacturer's instructions. I also have my gloves on. I do not have nitrile gloves because they are hard to get a hold of right now, and they're kind of pricey when you do. So I'm not allergic to epoxy, but I do like to protect my hands, obviously, because it's sticky and gooey and gross. So I'm going to start with the alcohol ink. And so I'm just going to put a drop in just so that you can see what one drop does and get an idea of what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. I'm going to move this over a little bit. These are my test spots when I decided which color I wanted to go with. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. Stir it slowly. Don't go too crazy because you're going to generate bubbles when you're mixing your epoxy. And if you get too many bubbles, you can always let it sit for about 5 minutes, depending on what kind of epoxy you're using. Most epoxies have, a pretty decent work time, like, up to a half an hour, 40 minutes. This one in particular that I use has it's like a 20-minute work time. Then it starts to get real hot and real thick, and so it's not all that workable. So you can see that this is, it's got purple in it, but it's really super light and really super see-through. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple of more drops to darken it up. It's still going to be see-through though, but this is going to give it a richer color. And I'm going to stir it up. I hope you guys can see. Let me get closer maybe. There we go. So just make sure you stir it up really well. Scrape your sides. And just keep stirring until you don't see any streaks. I mean, and if you like the streaks in there, go ahead and use it with the streaks. And look, it's art. You don't have to be perfect. You have to, you just got to like it. So you can see that the color is darker. It's still like see-through-ish, so you're not going to get a solid color through alcohol ink. But depending on what you're working on, sometimes you want it to be see-through. So that's all up to you and what you're gonna, what you want in your project. So I'm gonna actually just put one more drop in, stir it up. I want it to be just a hair darker. And then of course you can put glitter in this to sparkle it up a little bit if you want to. You can leave it the way it is. And I'm good and stirred. you can see that. All right. I leave the stick in, but these sticks are kind of big and they always fall over. So I'm just gonna put it down in front. All right, the next thing I'm gonna use is the mica powder. So mica powder is used to color epoxy. It's used for makeup. It's used, nail techs use it in their acrylic. It's got a lot of different uses. It's really super fine powder. Some people put it like in their, they use it as eyeshadow or lipstick or whatever. This bag in particular is like really hard to open. This set comes in bags, which is a little bit annoying. And you gotta watch when you open it. If you open it too fast, it will poof out at you. And this is like, this stuff is real shimmery and it gets all over you like glitter does. So be prepared. So I have a little tiny spoon that I use to scoop. I just scoop out. You don't need a lot. So obviously, the more you use, the richer the color. The least you use, you know, the lighter the color. So I'm just going to use just this little bit. And I'm going to put it in there. Some people put it in first. I don't, because I found that if I put it in first, it gets stuck at the bottom. But you got to be careful on putting it up at the top too, because if you start to stir too quick, it's gonna poof up. So you wanna, I just like push it down into the epoxy and get it wet. And then I start to stir it in. So I don't know if, you know, if there's a wrong way or a right way. It's just the way that I do it. Like I said, I see people, they put it at the bottom. I put it, and then put their epoxy in. I put my epoxy in and then put it on the top and then work my way down. So if you can see, this color is much richer. It's not see-through, and it's got a pearlescent to it. It's like super pretty. Again, stir it up really well, but expect that you're going to get bubbles. But that's okay. You can let it sit for a couple of minutes and let it debubble itself, and then take a torch to it to pop the rest of the bubbles. That's what I do. All right, and so lastly, I'm going to use acrylic paint. And I think I got this one at Walmart or Michael's, I don't know, a while ago when stores were still open. Bigger bottle, so it's lasting me a little bit. So you don't need a lot, like a drop, because if you put too much in there, it gets real sticky and it gets like too thick and like almost not even workable. So you're gonna mix this in, and again, like if you use only a very little bit, it's gonna be more see-through, but not like the alcohol ink. It's going to be more solid, but you are going to have more of a see-through effect. And then, of course, the more you put in there, the more solid it becomes. And like I've even used acrylic paint where I wanted it to be lighter, and then I wanted to go in with a second layer and darken it up. Like especially like if I'm doing a beach cup and I'm working on waves, like I might do it like a lighter white, and then I'll put more in to like thicken it up. So it's all a matter of like playing. I'm actually going to put a little bit more in, just one more drop, and that's it. I'm not going to go any more than that, because then it's going to get thick and gooey, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to get it all stirred up. And I tried to get as close to the colors as I could, you know, but it's purple and there's so many variations of purple. So I've got it all mixed up. So you can see, you know, it's a little bit see-through, but not really. But now the real test is, how's it going to look on a cup? And so this is where you start to play around and be like, all right, what's this going to look like? So now that I've got this stirred up, I'm going to torch it. Just real quick too, I bought this little butane torch. Oh, check out this hot chick on there, right? Look at this. I bought this at a cigarette shop, and I was using this, and I found that it just didn't seem like it was really popping the bubbles all that well. I mean, it was a little bit, but you know, I was still finding I was getting bubbles, so I just picked up this bad boy on Amazon. This like kitchen torch thing. This is awesome. So this works so much better for popping bubbles. And like for this, I just go in and I mean literally just, that's it, bubbles be gone. Like super quick. If I see some, I just go in really quick because you don't want to burn your epoxy because epoxy will burn, especially alcohol inks. You don't want to catch that on fire. All right, so I'm going to get set up over at the cup and I'm going to bring you over there and I'm going to show you what these look like when they go on the cup. Okay, we're over here at my station and I think I want to start with the pearl. So I'm just going to drizzle this on, which is really cool. You get such a neat effect when you do this. And it's really super sloppy, but that's okay. Just make sure you've got a catch mat or something underneath. I have a silicone mat so that the epoxy comes right off. But if you don't have that, you can use newspaper, you can use, you know, plastic tablecloth, like the ones from the dollar store is pretty good. So you see how this is going on the cup? It's, you know, it's a rich purple, it's very pearlescent. It's really, really very pretty. I'm hoping you guys can see like how shimmery it is. So I'm just actually going to bring some on the bottom. And you can touch the epoxy with your stick. I mean, don't go crazy, but you can, because it's still really wet at this point, so it's going to level itself out. All right. So next I'm going to come in with, I'm going to go in the center with my acrylic paint epoxy. And so this is a little more see-through. And it's going to give, you know, it's going to give definitely a different effect. You know, more of just a flat color. Very flat paint. Just bring it up a little bit higher. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this cup after I'm done with it. I might throw some white alcohol ink and break it up and swirl it around. So I've got a good amount of epoxy on this cup. I've probably got about 15 milliliters because I think I want to move this up. I want to move this epoxy around once I get it on here, just to kind of swirl it up. All right, so now I'm going to go in with my alcohol ink. And you can see this is so much different. The color is completely different. It's so much lighter. Again, it looks like Jello to me. That's what it reminds me of. So I'm just going to bring it in. And you can see how very clear it is. It gives color, but it's really clear. So, and these all kind of behave the same way on a cup. So you drizzle it on, and then it, you know, I do want to swirl this around. But you can see how different the colors are. They look kind of the same in the cup almost, but then when you get it on this white surface, you can see how much different it is. All right. So I'm actually going to get my heat gun and I'm going to start swirling it around. And so torches for bubbles, heat moves. Torch pops bubbles, heat moves. So remember that. You can try to use your heat gun to pop bubbles and it will pop some, but it's not going to get all of them. The butane torch is definitely going to be the better choice if you're looking to pop bubbles. And they have them relatively inexpensive on Amazon. They don't cost a fortune. It's really a good investment so that you can, you know, get control of the bubbles. Because no matter what you do, you're going to have bubbles. You know, as soon as you start to work that epoxy, like even you could have 0 bubbles in your cup. And as soon as you start to put it on here, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get bubbles. So try not to overwork your epoxy on your cup. And I do have bubbles right now. So I'm gonna bring my torch in and I'm gonna give it a quick, really quick across it and just pop those bubbles. And I don't care if I heat it up because I want to heat it up because I'm gonna move it around. And I've got some stubborn bubbles up there. So just real fast. Don't forget your bottom because you don't want any bubbles. All right, now I'm gonna come out with my heat gun and I'm going to just move. I'm gonna put it on there and heat it up and move it around. And it takes a minute, and if it drips a little, it's okay. Because it's all gonna smooth itself out. So you gotta get it nice and warm. And depending on how much heat and how long you leave it on there is how much it's gonna move around too. So if you can see, it's starting to move now. And you can kind of direct it upwards. Try to give it like a wave. That's what I try to do. I think it gives it a really neat effect. And this just kind of smooths it out and blends it out. And you don't have to do this. I'm just doing it because I'm playing around with this cup. This is like a test cup. This is a teaching cup. So I'm like, all right, let's just move it around because I have no idea what I'm going to do with this cup after I'm done. I'm going to move it down a little bit too. So it's blending a lot. So I think I'm going to break it up with some white alcohol ink because we're only using one color. You know what? Maybe I won't. So the point is I want to show you how it looks on the cut when it's cured. Careful not to get too close. I've done this and dipped my gun right into it. So I'm just kind of feathering it out right now. And this. I'm going to blend this a little bit more and then I'm just going to let it turn. And then tomorrow when it's all nice and cured, I'll come back and we'll give you more of a close-up of what it looks like. Alright, I'm going to let this turn overnight and we'll be back tomorrow. So here's our cup. It's been turning overnight and it's all dry to the touch, so we can take a look now and see what it looks like after it's been cured in epoxy. So I'm gonna get you closer here so you can see. And so this was your mica powder, this was the acrylic paint, and this was the alcohol ink. So you can see that the alcohol ink looks pink. It doesn't even look purple, so how weird is that? But anyway, so I hope this helped you to see what these look like on a cup after they've been mixed in epoxy. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this cup now. I would gladly take some suggestions and then maybe I can finish this cup on camera. But for right now, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope this helps. Please like and subscribe, hit that bell button, and I will see you next time.